your role in life. Before we look into transcending a social context, let's take a moment to focus on one way of looking at the reality of your self awareness. As seen, one of the first and most significant distinctions you make among all this perceived phenomena is the distinction called you. When tackling the issue of life, the focus quickly turns to your life. And yet, what is this you that seems to be alive? What is your relationship to life? Is this you instinctually produced? What is your function as this internal entity that is aware? What is your job? Let's dive in here by considering that as a body, you are a collective bunch of cells. Every organ and system of your body is made up of cells mindlessly functioning in concert toward particular ends that collectively produce and maintain life. All these individual activities create an animal, an assemblage of individual and specialized cells mindlessly living on their own. You probably identify quite strongly with the body. It is what objectively exists and is your main claim and proof of existence. But this has to remain as if a self evident belief because you aren't conscious of even one of the roughly 37 trillion cells that constitute your body. Do you know each or any red blood cell personally? Do you experience whizzing around inside tubes? No. You, as a conscious entity, have no consciousness of the activity occurring within any mitochondria. You have no awareness of your kidneys working, or your lymphatic system, or any of a huge number of activities that right now are keeping you alive. So, how can you say you are that when you don't find yourself there? How could you find yourself there if you aren't conscious of or even perceiving any of it except from the outside, so to speak, knowing such things about the body only through what's learned as abstract concepts? If you believe that this sense of you is a body that is virtually unknown to you, then you are rather like a rock that has also no experience of itself. And yet you probably identify with a self awareness, a so called conscious entity. So, where is this self aware you located? Are you your foot? If your foot were cut off, would you disappear? Except for the distress and loss you may experience, you, as an aware and perceiving entity, would not change at all. You aren't involved with any of the micro activities or systems that comprise your body. You don't even know what's happening with them, save for some signal sent to the brain whenever a body part is in trouble. What you identify as yourself relative to the body is an end product of brain activity, sort of like passing gas is an end product of the digestive system. If this is so, then what is your job relative to the body? Isn't it to manage the organism's gross maintenance and its relationship to the environment? Watch yourself. You scratch. Why? You eat and find a place to defecate. You plan, do work, find mates, socialize. Why? Watch everything you do. Why adjust your body as you sit? Because that's your job, isn't it? That's what you're charged to do to solve problems and manage life. In order to handle this animal's overall physical survival, you find shelter, avoid too much heat or cold, and so on. But because you've developed all sorts of ideas, beliefs, assumptions, and knowledge, since you also identify with and find your self experience as a conceptual social creature, you're charged with maintaining an immense conceptual and social world as well. Further scrutiny, however, reveals you really aren't any more conscious of the foundation of your conceptual activities than you are of your body. You just act out the end results of these activities. As a willful entity, you are driven to achieve instinctual goals, program goals, and conceptual goals. Whether relating to the physical or conceptual, your job is to manage the perceived environment, both inside and out. Regarding biological life, yourself may be just a function, like an organ serving a purpose. Although ignorant of anything beyond the scope of your cognition, your self's purpose is to figure out how to manage life, how to survive given what you perceive as the conditions of each moment. And through your body's perceptive faculties and conceptual ability, you locate yourself as some inside awareness activity that is identified with the job of life management. This job seems to be centered within your mind. So you naturally assume that you reside within, or perhaps are, a mind. It appears that this aware you exists and grows as a result of learning more than it does as a result of instinct, doesn't it? Your heart beats without your knowledge or the need for you to do anything, and you breathe just fine even while asleep. The you, as a function of your brain, needs to sleep in order to release toxins and reshrink the brain. The rest of your body doesn't stop functioning, only you do. In fact, unless this you entity disappears pretty much each day for several hours, the body will die. You must go so the body can live. Interesting observation, isn't it? Think about it. What are you to this collection of cells? Since your job is to direct which perceptions are acted upon and how, you're not much more than a switchboard operator. Really, just another mindless function. The need for survival in a world of creatures and elements, as perceived by specialized cells that form eyes, ears, nose, skin, etc., has produced a sophisticated switchboard operator function with an instinctive caretaker role. This managerial job is one of handling survival by directing the collection of cells to do this or that, whatever can be managed by your will. Experience the implications and reality of this with each action and thought and feeling that you have. This you that you identify with turns out to be like a burp, just another function of a specific collective life struggle. What is the real nature of this burp? If this problem solver and switchboard operator is all that you identify with and experience as yourself, then when the body dies, you die, because this job is terminated along with the organism. On the other hand, if you manifest as, but are in fact not the switchboard operator, then perhaps you won't die when the body dies. You'll just lose your job. Beyond your rather simple physical role regarding your body and biological life, however, everything else is social, isn't it? Again, the only reason you really care that the body dies is because then you, as a conscious entity produced by brain activities, die. If you are a switchboard operator for the body, as well as an abstract problem solving self awareness that is created and exists as a social entity, then this is your role in life and what dies at death. You cannot help confuse the nature of your existence with the job that you do or exist for. But perhaps your nature is not limited to this role or job, and so not limited to life and death. As a belief or fantasy, this does nothing to change your condition because you only find such existence in what you're conscious of, not what you believe or even perceive. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to discover what's true. Embracing not knowing. There are any number of intriguing belief systems, spiritual, philosophical, even scientific viewpoints that we can adopt to try to change the way we experience life or death. But for the most part, after our initial infatuation subsides, the fact that they come from an external source and require a belief in what others say begins to erode any deep sense of validity. We don't feel completely authentic in this way, and since we have not experienced for ourselves the truth of the matter. In contrast, notice that we are completely and undeniably certain that we don't know. This not knowing is ours and is deeply personal. It is valid and requires no belief or hearsay. We can stand in not knowing fully and without doubt. Strange as it may seem, from here we can more powerfully and genuinely pursue knowing anything. Isn't this not knowing in the same place where you experience being existentially silent? Not knowing provides a powerful contrast to the rest of life, which is devoted to knowing. And remember, it only exists as not knowing because our whole experience is focused on knowing. So even the not knowing seems to relate silently to knowing. But it is simply the blank slate in the matter, the open origins of the possibility of knowing, the starting point for existence. When we die, the knowing dies. But not knowing or silence, like absolute existence, doesn't die. Perhaps we can see that in our experience, not knowing is as close to the absolute as we can get, shy of direct consciousness. So let's do a guided meditation. Focus on your experience of not knowing right now. The place where you are completely blank, where there is only silence and stillness. Does this seem like it is close to the very core of you? How does not knowing relate to your basic experience of this silent stillness? Don't assume they are different or in different places. Don't assume they are located anywhere. Just concentrate on this silent not knowing. As you reside in this experience of not knowing, what tends to come next? Do you feel pressure to know again? Even a little bit? Is there an impulse to think something? In contrast to not knowing or the silent stillness at the heart of your experience, what do you see as the purpose for your knowing? What is it doing? Once again, focus on this sense of not knowing, on the silent stillness at the core of your experience. Here, in this silent not knowing, is death an issue? All right, thank you. Among the great things which are to be found among us, the being of nothingness is the greatest. Leonardo da Vinci.